Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Superstars of Wrestling Review Series, April 3rd, 1993, day before WrestleMania 9. And basically a highlight show a little bit. They do some exclusive interviews from Caesar's Palace, along with some enhancement matches as well. Curt Hennig and Dwayne Gill start us off. Really basic thing here. Of course, Hennig to face Luger this afternoon. Eventually move into the beginnings of the tease of a feud with Shawn Michaels, which with their relationship going all the way back to the AWA. I don't know if they ever fought in the AWA. I don't think so, because I think Hennig was babyface for the majority of the Rockers run, so it wouldn't make sense for them to be there. Basic stuff in the match with Gill. Beautiful dropkick, though, and Gill does a awesome sell job there as well. Inverted neck snap by Hennig. Gill sells like $1 million for Hennig. Although most people, I've actually talked with people that have worked with Curt, and lots of people wanted to sell for Curt. Curt was easy to work with, made them look good, and so a clothesline off the apron, an inside out attempt at bring the guy back in, and then a perfect plex and a win. Narcissist Lex Luger talks about being better than perfect, better than everyone, looking like $1 million, being $1 million. He's there with Vince McMahon doing the microphone, holding Jerry Lawler and Randy Savage, who are the announcers for the program at the time. Then we move to a preconceived interview, I believe, from Wrestling Challenge, Gene Okerlund with the Mega Maniacs, Beefcake and Hogan. Obviously, they're talking about winning the tag team championships, talking about the face of Beefcake being ready for combat with Money Incorporated and the mask and all of that. Glenn Ruth and Bam Bam Bigelow up next. Bigelow not having as big a match in WrestleMania. Actually, his match, I'm pretty sure, gets cut from WrestleMania with Kamala, but a few shots and some Irish whips here. Ruth, who ends up becoming one of the headbangers, but here is just an enhancement talent. Hate to say just, but I mean, that's how it's seen at the time. Diving headbutts. Bigelow makes some motions that he wants to be the champion. Amazing that as we move into the summer and the first King of the Ring, first of about 8 or 9 of them as pay-per-views, Bigelow is eventually in the finals of that. We'll move through that when we get there. Top rope headbutt Bigelow and gets the victory there. Michaels explains why he'll leave as the Intercontinental Champion. Basically says he's a better man. He knows how to fight to a different degree. He's more focused, more beautiful, more sexually appealing, the better wrestler, and all of the above. Tatanka and Barry Hardy is up next. Smart to put Tatanka on this show the day before the big pay-per-view. I think Tatanka still would have benefited, even if they'd done a run with, from here to King of the Ring, a 2-month run with the Intercontinental title, I think would have done Tatanka some good. Not that necessarily they could have done that, because then they would have had to end his undefeated streak, which is probably why they didn't do it. They saw more money in the streak, I imagine, than in the short-term Intercontinental title run. Big power slam by Tatanka, several chops, and decent stuff. Descends over the outside, chops on the outside, hits the vertical suplex outside in. I always like that. It's just a cool visual. And then we see Tatanka take his opponent back to the corner, hit some more chops. Chops are very common for Native American talent, but also chops are common if you are trying to get the crowd to react. If you need to bring a crowd up, boom, chop, loud sound, and the crowd reacts for at least a few seconds. Wake them up, so to speak. Big back body drop, and Hardy takes over just for a minute or two, nothing major. Just enough to give him, some competitive nature to him. Irish whip, and again with the chop and the Samoan drop. 1, 2, 3. Event Center next up with Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon talks about defeating the former world champion in Bob Backlund. Basically, he says he's more macho than Backlund, and that Backlund is, for lack of better terms, old news. Then we move to Doink the Clown and Dale Wolf. Of course, Doink the Clown still Matt Bourne through about WrestleMania 10 or so. Maybe a little bit longer than that, but not terribly much so. Doink is pretty aggressive here. Uses the tactics of a traditional wrestler. Bourne does have, collegiate wrestling style to him, and that shows here. Gets some ride time on his opponent, neck breaker, and the like. Eventually, I believe, uses a stump puller to get the victory, and then we go to Harvey Wiffleman warning The Undertaker of, the dangers of Giant Gonzalez. We go to a pre-recorded match with Gonzalez and Virgil. Virgil thinking that he's even going to be in the same league with the impressiveness of Giant Gonzalez, to me, is just funny. He bounces around like he's going to do something. And obviously, they've got Giant Gonzalez conditioned to lurch like he can barely move. Virgil uses a second rope attack just to try a standing on the top rope for a Greco-Roman knuckle lock. Just a really interesting spot there to put over the strength and size and speed. Well, not speed, but size of Giant Gonzalez. And it's not not even that works. But Gonzalez hits a few bigger shots, kicks, punches. That's all that Gonzalez really needs to do. A forearm here, forearm there. Topples the topples Virgil, which in the grand scheme of what an actual person on the street looks like, Virgil's a pretty big deal. But not against a Giant Gonzalez. Sloppy choke slam by Gonzalez. 1, 2, 3 gets a victory. I say sloppy partially because it doesn't look like he's putting a whole bunch of effort in, but also because Virgil doesn't get the best of jumps either. The opponents of Mr. South and Mr. Nelson against the Steiner Brothers. The Steiner Brothers going against the Head Shrinkers at WrestleMania here. And, it's very basic. Scott starts off with one of the enhancement talents, I believe South, and gets some wrestling ride time on him. Inverted atomic drop by Steiner. And Steiner, gets some suplexes, a snapmare, and the like. Scott Steiner, obviously the more finesse-based of the Steiner brothers. Rick much more power-based, and the like. And they were a good brother tag team. A lot of people that are very high on the Steiners, I liked some of their stuff. 90 to 92, probably my peak for them. Didn't like them by the time we got to the late 90s, just wasn't my thing. I did like their Japan stuff, much better than their US stuff, though. Anyway, suplex and a top rope bulldog. Steiners get a victory. Event Center, Mr. Perfect talks about, Narcissus or Lex Luger, a.k.a. Being put in his place. Talks about not being afraid. Then Bret Hart basically says that, yes, being crushed by Yokozuna was one of the worst things in his career, but Yoko would have to get him in the position again. He doesn't think that's going to happen, and that's how we close to go into WrestleMania 9 within 24 hours. We'll be back with more right after this.